Hi, welcome back guys. This is your friend, the What If guy, back with another fanfiction. This is the first part of What If Issei was Supreme Dragon God Lucifer. Now before starting, please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel if you want more videos like this. Now let's get into the fanfic. A boy with brown hair lay on the ground, surrounded by a puddle of his own blood. This boy was Issei Hayadu, the Red Dragon Emperor of this generation, also known as the BRST Dragon Emperor. He had lost everything in his life. His family, his friends, and even his girlfriends had betrayed him. The light in his eyes had faded. He spoke to his partner, Draig, who had never left his side. He expressed his regret, wishing he could go back in time to stop his former self from being such a JRK. Draig responded with determination, reminding Issei that he was the best partner he could have. He encouraged Issei not to give up hope, despite the betrayals he had faced. Draig believed that Issei could find a new reason to live, urging him to remember the strength he was known for, the ability to make the impossible possible. Draig suggested a dangerous ritual that could help Issei, but it required him to find a secluded place where no one could sense his presence. As they prepared to move, a barrier formed around them, plunging the area into darkness. Black snakes began to manifest before Issei, and they both recognized the presence of Ophis, the dragon god. Her appearance brought forth an intense aura that shook the supernatural world, causing others to hesitate in approaching her. Ophis, seeing Issei in such a dire state, felt a surge of anger. Although her aura did not harm him, it was powerful enough to make others tremble at the thought of facing her wrath. She demanded to know what had happened to him. Issei, trying to calm her down, smiled and asked her what she was doing there, but her glare silenced him. Draig advised Issei to be honest with her, knowing that Ophis could see through any deception. Issei nodded and began to explain everything that had transpired. In a flashback, Issei reflected on the events leading to his current state, determined not to dwell on a boring tale of betrayal. After sharing his story, Issei looked at Ophis, who had remained silent throughout. Without a word, she healed him and teleported them both to the dimensional gap. There, Issei was met with a shocking sight that filled him with rage: the headless torso of Great Red. He turned to Ophis, demanding to know who was responsible for this. Ophis explained that the outer gods, beings far more powerful than them, had sent trihexa to destroy their world. Big G had sealed trihexa but had ultimately lost his life in the process. Issei and Draig were taken aback by this revelation. Ophis approached Great Red's torso, plucking some scales from it before erasing the rest of his body from existence. She then manifested Issei's gear, merging it with his own, and created two crystals, one dark red and one black, representing her power and that of Great Red. She extracted Issei's soul from his body, which floated lifelessly, and placed the crystals within him before returning his soul. After 10 hours, Issei regained consciousness and saw Ophis holding a red and black sword, which she offered to him. She explained that the sword and crystals contained their combined power, and once he reached the rank of Dragon God, he would gain the strength to evolve. She placed her trust in him, urging him not to let them down. Before they could continue, a bright golden light illuminated the dimensional gap, revealing a figure with 14 golden wings and a halo above his head. Ophis recognized him and referred to him as Baka God. Draig, who had been silent until now, was shocked, recalling that he and Albion had killed this being during the Great War. Issei, confused, asked Draig who the figure was and why he looked so surprised. Ophis confirmed that it was the god of the Bible. The figure remarked on the hassle of dealing with the outer gods, stretching his limbs as he spoke. Issei confronted the god, expressing his anger about the outer gods and questioning why he hadn't warned anyone about their existence, especially after Great Red's demise. Ophis explained that Issei's concerns stemmed from his past betrayals, as he had lost his family and friends, leaving him with only Draig, Great Red, and her for support. The god looked at Issei with pity but then had an idea. He snapped his fingers, manifesting something in his palm, which he gave to Issei. It entered Issei's soul and placed him under a sleeping spell, suggesting that he had endured too much at such a young age. The god proposed sending Issei back in time so he could enjoy his life a little more. He mentioned this, and Ophis nodded in agreement. He continued, suggesting that since Issei had been through a lot, giving him a bit of an advantage wouldn't be too bad. Ophis sighed, knowing him well. Once he became interested in something, he wouldn't stop until he achieved it. He placed his hand on top of his head and declared that he, the God of the Bible, was granting Issei control over his system and all bloodlines containing the 72 pillars. He wished Issei good luck, stating that Drake should inform him about the calamity approaching the world and how he had to fake his death to make others believe he was gone. Issei was the hope of the universe, and he hoped for good fortune for this child. With a snap of his fingers, he reversed time. He gazed at the collapsing timeline, which quickly transformed into a void. His attention shifted to Ophis, who was staring at a massive figure with dark red eyes that shone brightly. In an instant, Ophis was erased from existence, a smile on her face. Big G looked at the figure and sighed in defeat, acknowledging that he was the father of that boy. He expressed his hopes for Issei, the new Lucifer, before returning to where he came from. Mrs. Rezavan Lucifer gave birth to 2 boys, one just 2 minutes older than the other. The first had gray hair with emerald eyes, while the tips of his hair were green. The second boy shared the same gray hair but had hazel eyes. Their parents looked at them with smiles on their faces, and Rezavan remarked that they were both handsome, just like their father. She then turned to her husband, asking what they should name the boys. After a brief pause, he decided on Issei and Vale. Meanwhile, in Issei's consciousness, he looked around in confusion, wondering where he was. The system installation progressed rapidly, confirming that there were no issues with his birth. It informed him that he was born into the Lucifer household, with his mother from an extinct pillar of the Devil clan and his father from the Lucifer lineage. Issei felt a twinge of sadness upon realizing he didn't have Drake. However, the system reassured him that he did possess Drake, but his current body was too weak to communicate with him until he unlocked his gear. The system then offered to apply resistance skills to his body, consuming his magic power. Issei requested to see all the available resistance skills, contemplating the advantages he could gain in this world. The system listed various resistances and he acquired them all. Outside, the entire Lucifer household gathered to congratulate the family on the twins' arrival. Rizavim asked Euclid to assess the boys' power levels, only to be met with shock. Euclid, ignoring Rizavim's concern, exclaimed that the boys were extraordinary, with magic reserves on par with ultimate-class devils and possessing sacred gears, specifically Longinus. The family of the former Devil King looked astonished. Euclid warned that the Devil Council would likely engage the boys in arranged marriages and might use them as weapons to instill fear in other factions. Rizavim, protective of his grandsons, declared that anyone who threatened them would face dire consequences. He instructed Euclid to train the boys and prepared to confront someone about the situation. The atmosphere was tense, and as Issei's power surged, Euclid and Rezavan created a barrier to contain it, but it vanished as if it never existed. Euclid realized that Issei's power was reaching low Satan class, causing everyone to sweat at the thought of what kind of being he would become. In Issei's consciousness, he was alerted that he needed to release the extra power within him, or his body might explode. Confused, he questioned what that meant. The system proceeded to release the excess power, announcing that it would enter sleep mode for 5 years, during which Issei could not use his sacred gear. Accepting this as his new life, Issei resolved to make changes and keep an eye on Rizavim's activities, amused by his newfound holy magic resistance. 5 years later, the 2 boys were seen training. One focused on practicing magic while the other trained his body. Over the years, they had significantly increased their power. Issei had reached mid-Satan class, while Vale, who had concentrated on magic control, was at low Satan class. Vale questioned his older brother about not training his magic, recalling their grandfather's advice on the importance of improving magical control. Vale listened intently as Issei explained the importance of physical training. Issei emphasized that if Vale wanted to increase his magic reserves, he needed to strengthen his body. If his magic grew too quickly without his body being able to handle it, it could lead to disastrous consequences. Albion agreed, reminding Vale that he needed to be prepared for the day when the formidable Red One would appear. If Vale was not strong enough, he could face dire threats, not just to himself but to his family as well. Vale nodded in understanding. Vale had unlocked his gear at the age of 3, and when everyone learned about his sacred gear, concern for his safety grew. Issei sighed at the worry surrounding them. Rizavim, being a protective grandfather, took Euclid and Rezavan to train them, ensuring they could defend Vale if necessary. However, they remained uncertain about Issei's sacred gear, as he claimed he did not know which one he possessed, and they had yet to find a way to activate it. Eventually, they decided to drop the subject. Today marked their 5th birthday, and everyone was busy preparing for the boys' birthday party while leaving Rezavan in charge of their safety. He watched from a distance, chuckling at the sight of Albion and Issei lecturing Vale. Suddenly, a massive condensed sphere of light energy hurtled toward the boys. Without hesitation, Rezavan stepped in front of them and created a barrier for protection. The sound of the impact echoed through the area, prompting family members to rush to the scene. They were met with the sight of an army of fallen angels launching light spheres at the boys, whom Rezavan was shielding. Rizavim, furious, declared his intent to eliminate the attackers and transformed into his super devil form, unleashing his power upon the fallen. The aura he emitted caused the ground to tremble, instilling fear in their enemies. The others joined him in the fight, taking down the fallen, but a few managed to slip through and target Issei, who had lowered his guard. One of the fallen threw a light sphere at him, but to everyone's shock, Issei caught it with a single fingertip, using it as a toothpick before crushing it in his hand. Issei, with an air of nonchalance, created a barrier around the area and summoned a sword of light, swiftly dispatching the remaining attackers except for one. He tossed the last fallen toward Rizavim, who handed it over to Euclid for investigation. When Issei returned, everyone turned to him, curious about his display of power. His father asked how he had created a holy weapon, and Issei realized the implications of his actions. He thought to himself that he had merely wanted to appear impressive but now needed to come up with an explanation. He recalled a conversation about his great-grandfather from the previous year and shared that his ancestor had been an angel. The revelation left everyone wide-eyed, and Euclid questioned whether Issei had unlocked his angelic side. In response, Issei revealed his wings, which were unlike any typical devil's wings. While most devils had 1 pair, Issei possessed 6 pairs: 2 devil wings, 2 fallen wings, and 2 angelic white wings. The sight overwhelmed them, and they fell back in astonishment. Rizavim insisted that Issei explain how he had unlocked his angelic side after the birthday party, but for now, they needed to clean up the mess left by the fallen. They nodded in agreement and set to work repairing the damage. Later that night, Issei contemplated the awakening of the system and his gear. He initiated the system restart and was prompted to name it. He chose the name Seal, and the ultimate skill Raphael was renamed accordingly. With excitement, Issei requested various skills: the ability to consume anything, control over souls during combat, strength that increased with each fight, energy absorption from enemies, time manipulation, power gained through rest, and rapid learning. The system confirmed that all requested skills had been acquired and that a demon lord seed had been added to his body. Issei, filled with curiosity, asked Seal to share more about itself. The system revealed features such as a status tab, store tab, and inventory tab. When Issei requested to see his status and skills, the system displayed his information, revealing his name, race, power level, sacred gear, title, demonic power, and an extensive list of skills. Issei was astonished by the ultimate skills and the points he had accumulated. The system explained that his skills had evolved into ultimate skills due to his lineage and that the points could be used to purchase items from the store. Realizing the potential at his fingertips, Issei understood that he needed to grow stronger to face the formidable EXE gods ahead. Seal was asked if she could create a time dimension where he could train his body freely. He acknowledged that his current physique wasn't strong, so he inquired about how to gain strength without losing his devil bloodline and heritage. After a brief moment, Seal confirmed that the time dimension was being created and soon completed the task. To achieve a strong body with excellent healing properties, Seal suggested acquiring both a dragon and a slime body, as dragons possessed the hardest scales while slimes had remarkable healing abilities. He eagerly agreed to purchase both. Upon confirming the purchase, he received notifications about his transformation. His body was successfully transformed from a devil's body to a dragon devil slime body. He gained dragon eyes, teeth, scales, and increased self-healing properties, as well as enhanced physical attack resistance and control over Beelzebub. Excited about the changes, he couldn't wait to see Draig's reaction. He requested Seal to create a barrier around his room to conceal Draig's aura. After an hour of anticipation, he found himself in his mindscape, eager to reunite with his partner after so many years. He followed the flames to a volcano, where a massive red dragon awaited him. The dragon acknowledged their long separation and expressed surprise at his host's growth. He shared that he had questions but first wanted Draig to see his memories. The dragon nodded and was soon taken aback by the events that had unfolded in his life. Draig was astonished at the circumstances of his reincarnation into the Lucifer household and the unexpected nature of rise of him. He questioned how Issei had acquired such abilities and systems. Issei laughed, acknowledging that he had shared the same reaction initially but had come to terms with it over time. He also wondered about Vala's connection to Albion and his mother's lineage. Draig could only confirm that his mother had the ability to control darkness. Issei then inquired about the red and white gem and the sword given to them by Ophis. At that moment, Seal appeared beside them, resembling a teenage girl with long blonde hair and a radiant presence. She playfully teased Issei, who acknowledged her appearance but redirected the conversation back to the topic. Seal explained that the power Ophis had granted him was sealed deep within his soul and could only be unlocked by reaching the ranks of dragon gods. Draig noted that the writer must have other plans if Issei wasn't being made overpowered just yet. Seal hinted that there were indeed other plans for Draig, leaving the dragon curious. Issei requested a training regimen, expressing his desire to meet Red and Ophis as well. The two agreed, and he exited the mindscape, leaving them to devise new training plans. The next day, Issei woke up, showered, and headed downstairs for breakfast. After eating, he entered the living room, where his family members followed him. He sighed and settled onto a nearby couch, looking at them expectantly. When Rizavim asked what he wanted to know, Issei nodded and began to share his story. He recounted how, after learning about his great-grandfather, he had delved into the library to study their race but found nothing. Disappointed, he fell asleep and encountered someone claiming to be Lucifer, who bestowed upon him blessings and powers to create, nullify, and grant abilities to devils. This being expressed a desire for Issei to help restore the devil race, as the Great War had decimated their numbers. His family listened in disbelief until Issei demonstrated his newfound abilities by creating a sphere of power, which shocked them into acknowledgement. Rizavim confirmed that his father had made Issei his successor, leading to concerns about the council's reaction. If they discovered this, they would likely push for the creation of more devils and initiate attacks against the fallen and angels. Euclid warned that Issei was hiding something significant, urging everyone to keep their conversation confidential. He emphasized the importance of training to become stronger, suspecting that Issei was aware of impending events that they were not. With determination, he resolved to investigate their father's books for any clues that might shed light on the situation. He left all the family members alone. Mrs. Rezavan expressed her concern, wondering what to make of the situation. The other family member pondered the matter, acknowledging that Issei was acting far too mature for his age, fighting like a veteran at just 5 years old. However, the real issue was why he was pushing himself so hard. The looming danger seemed insurmountable even for the current Devil Kings, which left everyone feeling uneasy. Vale, feeling the weight of the situation, voiced his reluctance to be a burden to his brother. Rezavan comforted him with a gentle pat on the head, encouraging him to grow stronger. He entrusted Vala's training to Albion and announced his own intention to train before leaving through a magic circle. Meanwhile, Issei emerged from the magic circle and began surveying his surroundings. He found the place suitable and decided to head to the dimensional gap to meet Great Red. With a tear in reality, he stepped into the dimensional gap. Issei's harem included Great Red, Ophis, Trihexa, Draig, Seal, Velzard, and Velgrind. He had a powerful team, and he was contemplating whether to add 7 primordials as well. In the dimensional gap, Issei took in the familiar sights. It had been 5 years since his last visit, and he waited for a while, but no one appeared. With a sigh, he began training his body under the immense pressure of the gap. After 10 hours of training, frustration set in, and he decided to leave. Draig then revealed that he might know how to summon Great Red, which shocked Issei and made him a bit angry. He questioned why Draig hadn't mentioned this sooner. Draig explained that he believed it was best for Issei to complete his training first. Issei, curious, asked how he could summon Great Red. Draig reminded him that Ophis had merged her scales with the boosted gear, which could allow him to evolve the gear to the next level and attract Great Red. Issei was astonished at the possibility. Seal confirmed that the evolution could be done, and Issei nodded in agreement. As the process began, he felt the energy building up until it reached completion. The boosted gear successfully evolved into Apocalypse Gear, but it only manifested in its first liberation model. Issei questioned why it was only the initial form, and Draig suggested asking Seal for clarity. Seal informed him that the power of the Apocalypse Dragon was vast, and to unlock all its abilities, Issei would need to train further. For now, he could utilize all the abilities of the boosted gear. Before their conversation could continue, a tear opened in the dimensional gap, and Ophis emerged. She questioned who Issei was and how he possessed the power of Great Red. Issei approached her, placing a hand on her head and sharing their memories together. Ophis recognized him and expressed her confusion about Great Red's whereabouts. Issei sighed, stating he would return for training, and asked her to inform Great Red to wait for him if she encountered him. The next day, Issei returned to the dimensional gap and found 2 girls before him. He recognized one but was unfamiliar with the other. Calmly, he inquired about her identity, to which the other girl laughed, her long red hair and golden eyes captivating him. Draig noted her unusual gaze, while Seal revealed that the girl was, in fact, Great Red in her human form. Issei addressed her, acknowledging her identity. Great Red expressed her intrigue in him, noting his unique aura that combined both dragon and devil traits. She recognized Draig and mentioned that Ophis spoke highly of him. Issei introduced himself as Issei Lucifer, the great-grandson of Lucifer and the host of the Red Dragon Emperor, Draig. He introduced himself and then shifted his focus back to Ophis, who nodded in response. Issei approached Red and shared all of her memories with her. He asked her with narrowed eyes who had killed her in the future. Red replied that she didn't know much, only that her attacker had a mechanical body and was incredibly powerful. Issei nodded, then asked if he could create something for training. Both Red and Ophis shook their heads in agreement. He instructed Seal to create a separate dimension that only he and those he permitted could enter. Seal inquired about the time limit he wanted to set. Issei asked for the maximum available in the system, to which Seal informed him that 1 day outside equated to 10,000 years in the dimension. Issei was astonished and decided on a time limit of 1:43, 800 hours, or 5 years. Seal confirmed the process had begun, and soon they found themselves in a lush, grassy landscape surrounded by towering mountains. Issei explained that they were in a dimension he had created for training, where 1 day outside would equal 5 years inside. With that, they began their training. For years passed. During this time, Issei had undergone significant growth alongside Red and Ophis. He was in his room when Vala entered and informed him that their grandfather wanted to see him, along with the current heir of the Lucifuge clan and the Gremory clan. Issei was surprised, recalling that he didn't remember Graphia having siblings. The dragon within him warned him to conceal his mate marks from the visitors, hinting at potential complications. Vala left, and Issei turned to Draig, asking why she was upset. Draig initially dismissed it, but Seal revealed that Draig had feelings for him and was hurt when he lost his virginity to the dragon gods. Issei was taken aback and asked Seal to examine Draig's soul and create a spell for a body double. Seal confirmed the acquisition of the body double skill and began examining Draig's soul. Issei reassured Draig that he would free her and wished she had confided in him sooner. Descending to meet the guests, Issei entered the living room where he found Surzek's Lucifer, his wife Graphia, a 9-year-old girl with white hair, and Rias Gremory, who was sitting on the couch. They introduced themselves, and Issei introduced himself as Issei Lucifer, the great-grandson of the original Devil King. Surzek explained that he wanted to test Issei's strength and form a bond between their families. Issei narrowed his eyes, suspecting that Surzek aimed to free his sister from a marriage contract. Surzek was taken aback, realizing that Issei was perceptive and could see through deception. Issei learned about Lucy, the current heir of the Lucifuge clan, and expressed his desire to train instead of socializing. Surzek suggested that it would be beneficial for Issei to interact with others his age, but Issei countered that he had a long life ahead of him and found the Devil Kings to be ineffective in their duties. When Issei teleported everyone to the Nibirius territory, Valley questioned why they were there. Issei explained that the Nibirius clan was conducting experiments on 2 devil nekishes to create artificial super devils. He expressed his disdain for the Devil Kings, who failed to monitor their surroundings, and revealed a hologram of a young black cat undergoing experimentation. He concluded that he would return shortly after investigating further. He observed as all the devils were left behind, moving in front of the barrier. Rizavim, holding a bag full of gold, made a bet on what would happen next. He confidently stated that Issei would eliminate them all. Rezavan, also with a bag of gold, wagered that Issei would bring the devils back alive. Surzek sighed and placed his own bet, predicting that Issei would defeat them and return with the devils, vowing to ensure such an event wouldn't happen again. They all watched as Issei approached the barrier. Issei summoned a demonic sword and shattered the barrier before entering the facility, swiftly taking down the guard stationed there. The others watched in shock, while Rizavim laughed triumphantly, claiming his prize. He expressed hope that Issei would leave the air alive, as it would prevent complications. Valley reassured them that if Issei did eliminate the heir of the Nibirius clan, it wouldn't pose a problem, given his authority as a Lucifer. The Lucifer household nodded in agreement, while the others were left sweating at their banter. Rias questioned the morality of killing, drawing concerned looks from the group. Rizavim remarked on her naivety, prompting Surzek to narrow his eyes at him, but a sudden explosion diverted their attention. From Issei's perspective, he infiltrated the Nibirius territory, taking down low-class devils and guards with ease. He discovered a large metallic door leading to a laboratory filled with tubes containing the DNA of current Devil Kings. As he explored, he stumbled upon a girl with black hair and hazel gold eyes, holding a white cat. She was startled and took a defensive stance. Issei raised his hands, assuring her that he meant no harm and was there to rescue her. He handed her a flyer, instructing her to take it outside and inform everyone while he dealt with the devils inside. The girl accepted the flyer and teleported away. Issei then created a barrier to conceal his actions and began eliminating anyone who crossed his path. Growing bored, he conjured a massive sphere of power and launched it at the main territory, obliterating everything in its wake. As some devils approached him, one shouted that he would pay for ruining their research and commanded his servants to attack. Issei dodged their strikes and took to the air, dispatching them with spheres of light. The territory's owner watched in horror, attempting to flee but meeting a swift end. Issei then revealed a colossal white spear of demonic energy, towering at least 50 meters high. The other devils looked on in terror, knowing the devastation it could unleash. He removed the small barrier and enveloped the entire territory in a larger one, igniting it with flames that engulfed the spear. He declared that this would be their end, wishing them suffering in the afterlife. As he surrounded himself with a protective barrier, the other devils scrambled to create their strongest defenses, pouring all their energy into it. When he moved the spear into the ground, the entire underworld trembled, causing a massive earthquake. The Nibirius territory was reduced to ruins, with lava spreading as far as the eye could see. He approached the remaining devils, who were frozen in fear, and warned them not to disclose this incident, or 2 more clans might face extinction. They all nodded in agreement. His mother inquired about the spear's power, to which he replied that it was enough to reduce the entire underworld to ashes, but he had created a barrier to prevent that. He turned to Surzex, reminding him of his perceived uselessness and how he could have easily eliminated them but chose to spare them the paperwork. He suggested they create a story to prevent chaos in the underworld and mentioned that the girl he had rescued could provide proof of the events. The girl expressed her desire to stay with him, grateful for her rescue. He reassured her that she could stay with his younger brother, who would eventually grow stronger. She could even join his peerage once he obtained his pieces. He suggested she could take the white cat and make her a rook for her sister in the future. However, he warned that if another incident like this occurred, the Devil Kings would face dire consequences. With a glare, he teleported away, leaving behind a group of astonished devils. Grafia questioned the extent of Issei's power, but the Lucifer household could only shake their heads in uncertainty. They recalled that both of their grandsons were born with immense power, reaching ultimate class at birth. They had avoided bringing them to gatherings to prevent them from being exploited by the council. The elder warned Surzex to take his duties seriously, or he might face dire consequences from Issei. Issei had become a powerful force, training early in the morning and returning late at night. One of the elders expressed concern about the council's intentions towards the boys, noting that Issei's power had surged to a low Satan class after their discussion. The others looked on in shock, realizing the implications of his growth. Grafia questioned the seriousness of the situation, while Rezavan confirmed that Issei might currently be the strongest devil. Rizavim, with a chuckle, boasted about his grandsons, claiming they were impressive like himself. Surzex suggested they consider sealing Issei away for a time, but they were interrupted by Valle, who was visibly increasing his power to a mid-Satan class. Valle warned that any attempt to seal him would lead to dire consequences. Surzex attempted to calm him, insisting he was only making a suggestion. Suddenly, Albion revealed himself, shocking everyone present. Rias recognized the divine dividing, realizing Issei possessed a Longinus. Issei appeared behind Surzex, casually mentioning that he was born with it and teasingly asked what had angered Valle. Rizavim, feeling cornered, tried to deflect the conversation, but Issei teleported away with Rias to the Gremory household, leaving behind an angry and frustrated wife. She shouted in anger, teleporting after them with Lucy. Once they arrived at their home, Issei acknowledged that everyone wanted answers and asked what they wished to know. Valle, much to Rizavim's annoyance, inquired about Issei's strength. Issei claimed he was as strong as Albion and Draig in their prime, which caused the elders to pale, realizing they were in the presence of a formidable being. Rizavim demanded proof, and Issei created a barrier, raising his power to the heavenly class, stunning everyone. Valle expressed disappointment at not being able to keep up. Issei encouraged Valle to master his juggernaut drive, which caught the elders' attention. They were surprised that Albion had not informed Valle about it. Albion revealed that he had fought and defeated the current Red Dragon Emperor, who had mentioned that mastering the Juggernaut drive required defeating all previous hosts of the gear. Issei explained that he had learned about Valle's potential and the dangers he faced. Rizavim questioned why Issei hadn't shared this information sooner, concerned for his safety. Issei shrugged, stating he wanted to protect his family. Albion expressed gratitude for Issei's actions, acknowledging the bond between brothers. Issei advised them to train Valle, suggesting that once he activated the Juggernaut drive, he could be trained further, even if it would be challenging. He headed upstairs, leaving the others to contemplate his words. Albion reminded them that Issei was protecting them from the shadows, even if he didn't always show it. Realizing that only he could stand against Issei and Valle, Rizavim urged Valle to begin his training. They heard footsteps and saw Issei coming down with a bag. Issei announced his intention to travel to the human world for training, surprising everyone. They provided him with money, and he teleported away. In China, Issei arrived and began exploring his surroundings. Sensing the presence of devils near a small village, he teleported closer and witnessed them attacking a 13-year-old boy. Drawing upon his original form, Issei, who appeared to be in his teens due to his phoenix blood, looked around 19 years old, sporting a well-defined physique. He wore a red leather jacket and black cargo pants adorned with chains. He also had 2 mate marks on each shoulder, and his bad boy look was completed by a white shirt. In an instant, he teleported in front of the boy and eliminated all the devils. The boy gazed at him with fear. He reassured the boy with a smile, gently patting his head, and asked who he was. The boy, with black hair and blue eyes, wore a mix of Japanese and Chinese attire. He introduced himself as Cao Cao and inquired about the people he had just defeated. Issei was taken aback. He never expected to meet the leader of the hero faction in such a place. He introduced himself as Issei Lucifer, a descendant of the original Devil King, Lucifer, and explained that the defeated individuals were rogue devils. He assured Cao Cao that, despite being a devil, he was not like those who would harm a child. Cao Cao nodded in response. As Cao Cao prepared to leave, he was stopped by a small hand. He expressed a desire to accompany Issei. Issei hesitated, concerned for the boy's family, but Cao Cao revealed that he had no family, having been sold to the church at birth. Issei was shocked but agreed to take him along, provided he kept the supernatural world a secret. Cao Cao nodded in agreement, and Issei transformed into his child form, taking Cao Cao's hand and teleporting them to a cave. There, Issei explained why Cao Cao was being targeted and shared details about the supernatural world. Cao Cao learned that he possessed a weapon capable of killing even a god. Issei emphasized the importance of becoming strong, warning that if Cao Cao did not, he would be hunted down. He asked the boy to choose between wanting to become stronger or living a normal life. Cao Cao declared his desire to grow stronger, bowing and requesting training. 2 years passed. Issei had trained Cao Cao diligently, and now they were meditating together to calm their auras when Issei received a call from his family. Rizavim's voice informed him that it was his 11th birthday and that he would receive his evil pieces. Issei stood up, eager to collect them for his future plans. Cao Cao, who had come to see Issei as a brother over the past 2 years, asked where he was going. Issei explained that he would be getting his evil pieces. When Cao Cao inquired about what evil pieces were, Issei explained that they were chess pieces created from a crystal found in Agria's territory, designed to reincarnate other races as devils. Cao Cao realized that this meant Issei could turn him into a devil. Issei confirmed this, explaining that he would be a half-devil, half-human and would live for up to 10,000 years, serving as Issei's subordinate. Cao Cao expressed his desire to become a devil, and Issei agreed, creating a magic circle to teleport them to the Lucifer household. When they arrived, Cao Cao's jaw dropped at the sight of the mansion before him. He had expected a house, not a grand estate. Issei reminded him to hide his spear, as it could cause trouble, and explained that they were in Lucifer's territory, the home of the first Devil King. He reassured Cao Cao that once he was promoted to a high-class devil, he could receive land in the underworld. As they entered the mansion, Cao Cao's eyes sparkled with wonder. They found the Lucifer family in the living room, who greeted Issei with hugs. When they noticed the human boy, confusion spread among them. Rizavim asked about the boy's presence, and Issei explained that Cao Cao was his first peerage member, rescued from a life of servitude and hunted by devils. The elders expressed their disdain for parents who sold their children. Cao Cao introduced himself as a descendant of the original hero, Cao Cao, the ruler of the 3 kingdoms, bowing respectfully. Mrs. Rezavan welcomed him warmly, stating he could consider the mansion his home. Issei then asked when they would be leaving, and Rezavan replied that they were waiting for the Lucifuge family to join them. Cao Cao curiously asked which piece he would be, prompting Valet to assert his claim over Issei. The 2 boys playfully argued over who Issei belonged to, much to Issei's bemusement. The family laughed at his predicament, and Mrs. Rezavan reminded them to behave, warning that Issei had a low temper. Both boys quickly apologized, fearing punishment, but Issei simply patted their heads. A white magic circle appeared, revealing Euclid and Lucy. Euclid greeted Issei with a bow, acknowledging that it had been a while since they last met. "How have you been?" Issei had been well, thankful for the concern, but he was curious about the human presence. Cao Cao explained that the human was his first peerage member and that he needed his pieces to reincarnate him. Concealing his aura, Cao Cao went unnoticed as they arrived at Beelzebub's laboratory, leaving him in a state of Lucifer. Upon entering, they were greeted by an assistant who guided them to Ajuka's research room. Inside, Rias was accompanied by Surzex, Sona, and Seraphol. When Rias noticed them, she quickly hid behind Surzex, trembling slightly. Issei felt confused, but Surzex reassured him that it was nothing serious, just a little trauma from a past incident. Ajuka looked at Issei with interest, introducing himself as the current Devil King Beelzebub. Issei sensed that Ajuka was different from other Devil Kings and extended his hand for a handshake, which Ajuka accepted, causing Surzex to raise an eyebrow in surprise. Surzex pointed out that he had never received such respect from Issei, to which Ajuka responded that Issei was not a Siscon who constantly fussed over Rias. The room erupted in laughter, while Surzex and Rias turned red with embarrassment. They then turned their attention to Vale, and Ajuka handed them their evil pieces, instructing them to channel their energy into them. Vale received 6 mutations. 1 queen, 4 pawns, and 1 bishop, while Issei simply stored his pieces in his pocket dimension. Ajuka expressed surprise at Issei's ability to create a pocket dimension and inquired why he hadn't shown his pieces. Issei shrugged, stating he would reveal them another day but needed to leave. Vale explained that Issei was not much of a talker, and Ajuka waved it off, indicating it was no problem. After they departed, Ajuka looked at his fellow Devil Kings and their sisters with a serious expression, reminding them that he had warned them against their actions, but they had not listened. They countered that he couldn't understand because he didn't have a sister, pointing out how adorable they were, which made Ajuka sigh at their antics. Issei returned home to find Chow Chow and Kuroka chatting. Upon seeing him, Kuroka jumped into his arms, expressing how much she missed him, but Issei playfully tossed her onto the ground. Soon, the other members of the Lucifer household arrived, noticing Kuroka on the floor rubbing her backside. Vale asked what had happened, but Issei merely shook his head, indicating it was nothing. He then instructed Vale to reincarnate Kuroka, which he did. Afterward, Vale remarked that Issei should have done it himself since he had saved her life, but Issei disagreed. He explained that Kuroka would make a perfect training partner for Vale, and if he had reincarnated her, she would have followed him everywhere. Issei called Chow Chow over and opened his pieces, which were adorned with white feathers and angel and devil motifs. He selected a mutated rook piece, and Chow Chow looked at him with disappointment. Issei reassured him that while his speed was impressive, he lacked defense, making this choice the best for him. The ritual was performed, and Chow Chow was reincarnated, gaining 4 devil wings, which surprised everyone. Vale had 6, and the last time they saw Issei, he had 6 pairs as well. Rizavim asked what kind of sacred gear Chow Chow possessed, and after receiving a nod from Issei, he revealed that he wielded the strongest and first Longinus ever created. The revelation left everyone in awe. Rizavim expressed concern about the implications if heaven found out, but Issei dismissed the worry, stating that if they truly cared about the holy relics, they would have intervened when it mattered. He declared that Chow Chow was now part of his family, and anyone wanting to take him would have to go through him. The Lucifer household sighed but remained silent. Issei then turned to Vale, who nodded in response. They both teleported, and Issei asked if Vale had mastered the drive. Vale proudly announced that he had created a new drive called Imperio Juggernaut Overdrive. Issei encouraged him to demonstrate his strength, and Vale began to increase his power, reaching peak Satan class and nearing a breakthrough to Super Devil class. He smiled at his younger brother with pride, while Chow Chow expressed his admiration for Vale's strength. Rizavim noted that while Vale was strong, he wondered if Chow Chow had seen Issei's full power, to which Chow Chow shook his head. Issei assured him that he would see it now. Issei was determined to show Vale what true strength meant. With a confident smile, he stepped forward and delivered a powerful punch to Vale's gut, causing him to drop to one knee, struggling to regain his composure. Issei advised Vale to train harder, emphasizing that a stronger body could harness greater power. As Vale slowly rose, he began to chant his awakening. He declared himself the heavenly dragon who had lost everything to the principles of supremacy, expressing his envy for the infinite and his pursuit of dreams. He aimed to become the white dragon of supremacy and take others to the limits of innocence. With the invocation of Juggernaut Drive, Issei looked at Vale with a hint of encouragement. He quickly closed the distance again, striking Vale and disrupting his transformation, leaving everyone around them in shock. Issei challenged Vale to push himself further, suggesting that if he wanted to make Issei serious, he would need to activate his overdrive. Vale gritted his teeth in frustration and began his own chant, proclaiming himself the White Dragon Emperor who would bring darkness to the law. He envisioned a path of domination through infinite destruction, aiming to become a pure emperor of the White Dragon. Issei acknowledged Vale's transformation but warned him that it would consume a lot of stamina, urging him to take the battle seriously from the start. In an instant, Issei vanished from sight, and Vale narrowly dodged a kick aimed at his head, retaliating with a punch that sent Issei to the ground. As the battle intensified, Issei remarked on Vale's tactics, teasing him about cheating. He then transformed into his Super Devil form, a sight that shocked everyone, including Rizavim. The power radiating from Issei was on another level, making Rizavim question the overwhelming force before him. Issei quickly appeared before Vale, delivering a punch that shattered his armor. Vale called upon Albion to repair his armor, and the dragon assured him that he was working on it. Vale focused on the battle, dodging another kick and countering with a demonic ball that vanished from sight. Issei retaliated with a powerful strike, summoning a massive sphere that obliterated Vale's armor, leaving him in a weakened state. Seeing Vale in distress, Issei rushed to heal him and then teleported him to safety. Returning to the battlefield, Issei noticed the worried expressions of his friends. He announced his intention to leave, prompting Cao Cao to express concern that Issei would blame himself again for the injuries Vale sustained during training. Issei had a history of feeling responsible when his training went too far. In a moment of reflection, Draig reassured Issei that he shouldn't blame himself, reminding him that Vale was the one who chose to trust him. Issei understood but still felt the weight of the situation. Draig pointed out that this experience might be beneficial for Vale, pushing him to take his training more seriously after facing his first true battle. Issei then inquired about the system's other functions, specifically the noble phantasm options and their costs. The dragon and the system responded with a list of powerful items, each with a hefty price tag. Issei was surprised to learn about the incredible items available to him and felt a twinge of hurt for not being informed earlier. After discovering he had accumulated a significant number of points through his training and hidden quests, Issei decided to purchase several noble phantasms, including the Gate of Babylon, Enkidu, Gibalg, and Excalibur. The system warned him that merging all these powerful items at once might cause him some pain, but he was determined to proceed. As the merging process began, Issei experienced intense discomfort, feeling as though his very soul was being torn apart and reformed. After an hour of enduring the agony, he lay on the ground, panting heavily, his body drenched in sweat. The system confirmed that the merging was successful, although most of the noble phantasms he acquired were of B rank. To enhance their power, he would need to purchase ascension stones. Issei resolved to do that later and decided to find a cave for summoning. Upon entering the cave, he inquired about the possibility of mutating his pieces further. The system informed him that he had already achieved the highest level of mutation, as his pieces were white instead of the usual red, indicating a state beyond normal mutation. Curious, Issei asked for a list of summoning magic, which included options for demons, spirits, and dragons. The system explained that summoning demons required a flesh sacrifice, and Issei prepared himself for the next steps in his journey. In the realm of spirits, forming a pact is essential, especially with dragons, who are drawn to power. The summoner decided to begin with dark summoning magic. He created a large magic circle, cutting his hand to let a few drops of blood fall into its center. Instantly, the air thickened, as if a powerful demon was near. A bright light enveloped the area, revealing 7 demons before him. The first demon appeared as a stunning young woman with black hair streaked with red and gold, her golden eyes set against a backdrop of black scara. The second had blood-red eyes, with stars of gold and silver dancing within them, and her wavy, fiery hair was a deep shade of rouge. The third was an alluring figure with waist-long white hair and crimson-red eyes, dressed in a black military uniform and a formal teal-colored dress. The fourth was a young woman with shoulder-length blonde hair and blue eyes, wearing a black snow coat adorned with a skull pin over a white shirt and tie, giving off a delinquent vibe. The fifth appeared as a cute girl with medium-length purple hair tied in a side ponytail and purple fingernails. In casual settings, she wore a variety of purple dresses, while her serious attire was a black skirted military uniform with an armband on her left arm. The sixth wore a deep red-made outfit complemented by long green gloves, her curly green hair and green eyes contributing to her beauty. The last demon, also in a deep red-made outfit, had medium-length blue hair and blue eyes, equally captivating. The summoner instructed Seal to create 7 bodies compatible with the demons. Once completed, he declared that his offering for the summoning would be these 7 bodies, and the contract would last for 100 years. The bodies manifested before them, and the demons possessed them. Curious, he asked Seal for more information about the demons. Seal explained that they were spiritual life forms from the spiritual world, created by 7 original demons known as the Primordials, each named after their representative colors. The black primordial was called Noir, the red one Rouge, and so forth. He noted the presence of 7 demons before him, prompting one of them to speak. She remarked that it had been a long time since they had come to this world, and the others nodded in agreement. He inquired about their names, to which the red-haired girl replied that they preferred not to use their real names but would allow him to name them since he had summoned them. He chose names for them: Diablo, Guy, Testarossa, Carrera, Ultima, Rain, and Missouri. Upon hearing their names, they bowed to him. Diablo expressed her honor in serving a demon lord after such a long time, and the others nodded in agreement. He was surprised to realize they were the 7 primordials. Missouri asked how he knew, and he simply stated that he had his ways. Curious about their power, he created a barrier around the cave, and they amplified their strength to a level that shocked him. He had expected them to be at least at the ultimate class but realized he was mistaken. He then mentioned that they needed to summon more powerful beings, explaining that while they were strong, they did not rank among the top 10 strongest beings in the world. Carrera protested, claiming they were the strongest, but he demonstrated his own power, overwhelming them and bringing them to their knees. He informed them that they were currently in the top 15 and advised them to train instead of being overconfident. He assigned missions to them, instructing Guy to search for a specific person in Romania and Diablo to investigate a patient at the Citri hospital. As they awaited further instructions, he prepared for another summoning. He created a magic circle for light summoning magic, and a bright light filled the area. When it faded, a greater flame spirit appeared before him. He acknowledged his exhaustion and asked the spirit for its name. The spirit introduced itself as Ifrit, a greater spirit. The summoner proposed forming a pact, completing it with another drop of blood. Ifrit inquired about his command, but the summoner decided to continue with his summoning endeavors, excited about the possibilities. The others observed him with a mix of interest and concern, unsure of what to expect next. He contemplated how to summon a dragon, recalling that it was similar to calling one via a dragon gate but required maximum power and a blood offering. He questioned whether they were truly dragons or vampires, but resolved to proceed, instructing the demons to create a powerful barrier around them. Because they might get crushed, he looked at them and they nodded, creating the most powerful barrier they could muster. Issei then began to draw a large magic circle, larger than the previous 2. He dropped a bit of his blood to activate the circle and glanced at them again. They nodded and he started releasing his power. His energy skyrocketed to heavenly class, causing the barrier created by the demons to crack. They all poured every last bit of power they had, and Issei raised his energy, surpassing the heavenly class. 2 large dragon gates appeared in front of him. The first gate was pure white, adorned with ice spikes. The second was red, surrounded by flames. 2 dragons emerged from the gates, looking at him. The first was a stunning lady with azure blue hair styled in twin buns, accented with black ribbons and deep gold eyes. Her attire consisted of a dark-colored dress featuring a golden dragon pattern, complemented by white long gloves and thigh-high boots, both adorned with gold ornaments. She exuded a distinctly Germanic beauty. The second dragon was a beautiful girl with white hair, pure white skin, and cold, bewitching blue diamond-colored eyes. Ifrit remarked that he was a monster, and the others nodded in agreement, dropping to the floor in faintness. He sighed and healed them before turning his attention to the two new beauties before him, struggling to contain his excitement. The blue-haired dragon introduced herself, stating that he must be quite powerful to summon both her and her sister. Issei simply looked at them in silence. He then introduced himself as Issei Lucifer, the great-grandson of the original Devil King, Lucifer. They nodded, acknowledging the significance of his name. The white-haired dragon introduced herself as Velzard, a white ice dragon and one of the 5 true dragons. He nodded and turned to the other dragon. The second dragon introduced herself as Velgrind, the scorched dragon and the younger sister of Velzard. Issei laughed, finding it hard to believe that they were true dragons on the level of dragon kings. Curious, Velzard asked what he meant by that, prompting Issei to explain the nature of their world, which left them shocked. She pointed out that it didn't change the fact that he felt like a dragon. He revealed that he was indeed a dragon, showcasing 2 pairs of dragon wings, which astonished them. Velzard stammered in disbelief at the sight of 4 wings, while Issei shrugged nonchalantly. He suggested they move on, as it was getting late, and promised to explain more about his dragon nature and other matters another day. They nodded, and he transported everyone to the Lucifer household, reverting to his child form. Upon arrival, Valley expressed concern for Issei's whereabouts and inquired about the ladies accompanying him. Issei introduced them as his peerage members, and they all headed to their respective rooms. He showed the girls to their rooms before retreating to his own to rest. His inner voice remarked on his new companions, and Issei sighed, acknowledging Draig's sentiment. He assured Draig that once the process was complete, they could create the body for him. A voice chimed in, playfully asking if she could join in the process, causing Issei to blush in silence. He created a sound barrier around his room and used a skill to create 2 bodies, transferring the souls of the 2 girls into them. The next morning, Issei awoke to find the 2 ladies sleeping on either side of him, hugging him closely. He smiled at the sight before getting up and heading to the bathroom. After showering, he noticed both girls waking up, and he greeted them with morning kisses before they vanished. He used magic to remove any lingering traces of the previous night and made his way downstairs for breakfast. In the dining room, he found the entire Lucifer family gathered with his peerage. He smiled and joined them for breakfast. After the meal, Rizavim inquired why he didn't sense any demonic energy from the girls, noting that they didn't even possess sacred gears. He expressed caution, knowing Issei was clever but concerned about their lack of detectable power. Issei explained that he hadn't mentioned evil pieces to them yet, as it had been late, and he planned to do so later. The 9 girls looked at him curiously as he explained the concept of evil pieces, bringing out his pieces for them to see. He asked which of them wanted to join him, and they all eagerly raised their hands. Draig asked if it was acceptable to reincarnate the 2 dragons, considering their kind was dwindling. Issei pondered this before consulting Seal about modifying his pieces to allow him to choose whether to convert them to devils. Seal confirmed that it was possible, claiming to be the coolest system. The modification process began, checking the compatibility of the pieces. After confirming their suitability, Issei summoned his pieces box. This time, the pieces glowed with a blue light, indicating they were ascended, and only one piece was compatible for being lower than God class. Both Issei and Draig were left in awe at the revelation. He then looked towards the 7 demons, who nodded and lay down on the floor. He took out all of his pawn pieces and placed them on their chests before performing the ritual. After completing the ritual, he turned his attention to the 2 dragonesses in front of him, retrieving 1 rook piece and 1 knight to reincarnate them. He observed the 7 demons and remarked on why they hadn't questioned his choice of pawn for them. They shrugged their shoulders, indicating their trust in his decision. Mizari acknowledged that they knew he would choose the best piece for them, which made him smile and nod in agreement. He explained that the pawn is the strongest piece in chess, capable of promoting itself to a rook, bishop, knight, or queen. Curious about the strength of the newly summoned beings, Rizavim expressed his inability to sense any power from them. The others looked at Issei, who nodded and created a barrier around them. As they released their power, it surged to the peak Satan class, causing Kuroka, Cao Cao, Euclid, Rezavan and his wife to kneel in awe. Kuroka was astonished and questioned how they could possess such power. Issei looked at her, surprised that she, being a Nico, hadn't sensed anything. He then shifted the conversation, asking about the race of the demons and introducing them. He explained that they belonged to a race called demons, distinct from devils. Demons inhabit a spiritual world, a dimension ruled by 7 elder demons known as the original demons or primordials. The power of a demon is tied to their age and experience. Vala pointed to the 2 dragonesses and asked how they were summoned. Issei warned against attempting to summon a demon, as it could cost one their life. To summon a demon, one must offer something in return for their services. When asked what he had offered, he revealed that he had created new bodies for all of them, a process familiar to them given that Lucifer had made him his successor. He elaborated on the age hierarchy among demons, explaining that the longer a demon has lived and fought, the more powerful they become. He detailed the classifications from late modern or baronet demons, who live less than 100 years, to prehistoric demons, who have lived for thousands of years. The primordials, the original 7 demons, are the strongest, having existed for over 10,000 years. He noted that summoning an archdemon is nearly impossible, as primordials respond only to those they deem worthy. Ultima inquired about his extensive knowledge of their kind, to which he shrugged, stating that one must be informed about the world they inhabit. He then introduced another race, explaining the cycle of strength among demons, angels, and spirits. Spirits share similarities with demons but are led by a spirit queen and elemental lords. He had been too exhausted to summon a spirit lord, so he had only succeeded in summoning a greater spirit. Summoning Ifrit before them caused a mix of horror and concern. He reassured them that Ifrit would not attack. He then looked at Ifrit and took out his other night piece to reincarnate him. When Rizavim asked how he had acquired such knowledge, he fabricated a story about traveling in the human world, discovering a cave with ruins, and finding a grimoire sealed by an ancient god. After reading it, it had turned to dust, a myth they were familiar with. Rizavim then inquired about his future plans. After a moment of contemplation, he revealed that he had been observing certain matters for some time and intended to travel to Romania to seek out a second Longinus user. With that, they nodded and departed. He then turned to Guy, informing him of the specific individual he was searching for. He left and turned to Diablo, presenting him with a picture of Ingvild Leviathan and instructing him to search for her. He then faced Testarossa, Carrera, and Cao Cao, expressing his desire for them to eliminate someone. The atmosphere grew serious as Cao Cao questioned the reasoning behind the request. The response was that the target was exploiting vulnerable children for experiments aimed at creating artificial holy sword users. Cao Cao nodded in understanding as he received the location of the facilities in France. He then addressed Ultima, Velzard, Velgrind, Mizari, Rain, and Ifrit, instructing them to remain hidden in his shadows for the time being. Afterward, he ascended to the library, where he found Rizavim poring over some books in search of something specific. Approaching him, he inquired about what he was looking for. Rizavim replied that he was searching for ancient ruins and strong individuals. He sighed, warning Rizavim that magic could not be used in those ruins. He offered to share the location of one ruin, which contained only a fragment of Vritra's soul. He cautioned that attempting to extract it could lead to danger, as the structure might collapse, and without the ability to use magic, Rizavim would be unable to escape. After a moment of contemplation, Rizavim dismissed the warning and continued reading, only to find the information in the book to be inaccurate. Disappointed, he left the library and entered the dimensional gap to meet his 2 companions. In the dimensional gap, he maximized his power, and 2 tiers opened, revealing Ophis and Great Red before him. They both greeted him with affection, and he announced that it was time to recruit the final member of their group. He showed them a picture of trihexa. Great Red sighed, explaining that a curse prevented communication with her, and the only way to gain her assistance was to lift the curse. He nodded in agreement, and they all teleported to the end of the world. Meanwhile, in another location, Big G remarked that he had been right about their best choice, and Lucifer along with the other Devil Kings nodded in agreement. They acknowledged that while their power had increased significantly, they were still not strong enough to confront the outer gods. Great Red and Ophis could handle mid-class outer gods, but Issei remained comparatively weak. Beelzebub noted that they were freeing the Beast of Apocalypse to stand a chance against the outer gods, and Leviathan added that they had their support. However, Asmodeus pointed out that Issei needed to reach the rank of Devil God, expressing confidence that he would achieve it. Just then, they noticed another wave of the outer gods approaching. At the end of the world, Issei, Great Red, and Ophis arrived and immediately sensed a foreboding aura enveloping the area. They moved toward the source of the aura, only to realize they were trapped in an illusion. Great Red raised her hand, dispelling the illusion. Upon doing so, they discovered a massive dome surrounded by numerous barriers, preventing whatever was inside from escaping. Ophis asked what their next move would be, and Issei declared his intention to create a new dimension to contain the threat. He instructed Seal to construct a powerful dimension capable of withstanding their power and to prepare a teleportation circle. As the dimension was being created, they felt the magic circle form beneath them, and they were teleported into the new dimension. Upon arrival, they found themselves on a barren version of Earth, devoid of life. Issei asked Seal if she had copied Earth, and she confirmed with a nod. He then received a notification about the creation of a new skill called Crush, which would allow him to destroy any barrier. He instructed Ophis to bind the creature with her snake chains, and they stepped back as Issei summoned his 4 subordinates, warning them to keep their distance for their safety. He unleashed the skill Crush, shattering the barrier. The beast roared in response, and Issei resolved to confront it one last time, soaring into the sky. The creature retaliated with a massive ball of destructive energy, but a concentrated red flame intercepted it from the side. He glanced over to see Red in her dragon form and instructed Ophis to bind the creature with her chains. He then asked Seal how they could cure the beast. Seal informed him that he needed to touch the creature's head, and she could use her newly created skill, Divine Purification, to heal it. Issei's eyes widened at the challenge of getting close to the beast. Red inquired if he had a plan, and he offered a wry smile, uncertain of what he would do but aware that revealing his thoughts to them could lead to trouble. He took a deep breath as he prepared to face the beast once more. He transformed into his super devil form and faced the 2 dragon gods. He instructed them to ensure that their opponent could not move, to which they both nodded in agreement. He then addressed Draig, who confirmed readiness. With a nod. As he began to chant, the entire world trembled. He declared himself the heavenly dragon who had cast aside the rules of domination, choosing instead the path of destruction toward infinite hope and dreams. His voice took on a more draconic tone as he activated his balance breaker scale mail. He proclaimed himself the protector of his loved ones and the worst nightmare for his enemies lurking in the shadows. His armor expanded, causing his body to grow larger, red scales emerging across his skin. He continued, stating that he would lead them to a future brighter than any light while ensuring that his enemies would suffer in the depths of crimson purgatory. His aura and armor radiated a blinding red light, and when it faded, Issei stood in his Juggernaut Drive form, now as large as Great Red. He chanted the name of his transformation, and the surrounding area was devastated. He noticed Great Red and Ophis, who appeared slightly frightened by his presence, before turning his narrowed gaze toward Trihexa. A powerful roar erupted from him, and Draig's voice echoed in his mind, reminding him that he only had 30 seconds to maintain this form. He mentally acknowledged the warning. He thought to himself that this was their only chance to injure Trihexa. He unleashed a massive red beam from his mouth, striking Trihexa directly. The impact created a tremendous explosion, and as Issei's armor began to fade, he fell to the ground only to be caught by Great Red. They surveyed the destruction, noting that the attack had severely damaged Trihexa, leaving only a small portion of her flesh intact, with her core visible. Issei coughed but quickly regained his composure, using a healing slime from Seal to replenish his energy. He instructed Great Red to immobilize Trihexa and prevent her from healing while he focused on her core. He noticed Ophis maintaining the chains, protecting his peers, who looked on in horror at the devastation. Issei flew toward Trihexa's core and grasped it. He began to analyze it, and as he did, he discovered the presence of a chaotic element. He proceeded to remove the element from her core, successfully acquiring it. Seal completed the process and, with a grin, suggested that it would be fun. She asked Issei if he could absorb Trihexa's body and core with Beelzebub's help. He agreed and commanded Beelzebub to consume it all, leaving nothing behind. He then received notifications of new ultimate skills and upgrades, feeling a surge of power as he realized he was practically unstoppable with the combination of his skills. Just then, he was brought back to reality by a tap on his shoulder. Turning around, he saw Great Red, Ophis, and the others looking at him. Ophis inquired about the status of the beast, and Issei smirked as he extended his arm forward. Seal created a body for the beast and summoned it using Issei's skill. Unexpectedly, all 7 heads began to reshape, shrinking to match Great Red's size, and forming one dragon head that looked down at them, particularly at Issei, who had freed her. In a flash, she transformed into a human form, and Issei blushed at the sight of her. Before him stood a beautiful woman in her early 20s, with orange hair and dark blue eyes. She thanked him for freeing her from the curse and embraced him, causing him to blush even more as he turned his face away, not wanting to look at her. She smirked and playfully nibbled his ear, whispering a teasing remark that made him nod in response. Suddenly, the atmosphere grew heavy, and they sensed 2 powerful presences rising. They turned to see Great Red and Ophis smiling at them, but their auras indicated a serious threat. Issei gulped, realizing the gravity of the situation. Great Red announced her intention to borrow the newly freed dragon and instructed Ophis to take care of Issei while she teleported them to a distant location. Issei found himself in a different place with Ophis, who asked what he thought of his new companion. Ophis sighed, acknowledging that they deserved their fate but expressed curiosity about who they were and how they knew Issei. Velzard expressed her disapproval of having the orange-haired individual nearby, and the other girls nodded in agreement. Dragons were naturally drawn to power, and Issei's strength made him an attractive figure for them. They had intended to chat, but 2 magic circles appeared before them, and Issei along with his companions emerged. Both Issei and Trihexa bore visible wounds, while the other 2 were smiling. Velgrind inquired about the identities of the dragons and their relationship with Issei, prompting him to facepalm as he realized he had forgotten to introduce them. He explained that the 3 ladies before them were dragons, specifically dragon gods. Great Red introduced herself as the Apocalypse Dragon, also known as the Great Red True Red Dragon God Emperor, and Issei's first wife. The others nodded in acknowledgement. Ophis, the Ouroboros dragon or dragon god of infinity, introduced herself as Issei's second wife in an emotionless tone. They then turned their attention to Trihexa. Trihexa identified herself as the Calamity Dragon or True Dragon God of Destruction. She explained her role in preventing universes from discovering the existence of others, which could lead to catastrophic destruction. While traversing the dimensional gap, she had encountered Ophis and Great Red as hatchlings and decided to watch over them. One day, while traveling between dimensions, she confronted Chaos, an outer god and ruler of evil gods, who was attempting to corrupt the souls of the hatchlings. Although she fought bravely, she was ultimately defeated and her soul was tainted with chaos, earning her the name Apocalyptic Beast. She introduced herself as Sora, smiling at the wide-eyed trio. Great Red expressed gratitude for Sora's protection during their vulnerable moments, to which Sora laughed and dismissed the compliment. She reassured them that while they were not yet strong, they would grow in power. As she attempted to delve into Issei's origins through lost messages, her consciousness faded, and she found herself floating in an endless void. A voice resonated through the emptiness, questioning her search for Issei's origin. In the void, she saw a massive figure with glowing red eyes, and fear gripped her as she recognized the being's immense power. The figure teleported her out of the void, revealing himself as Issei's father, who apologized for sealing Issei's powers and memories. When Sora returned to reality, she noticed Issei holding her with concern. He asked if she was all right, and she nodded, though she felt a lingering shiver. Issei suggested she rest, laying her head in his lap while he addressed Great Red and Ophis. He instructed them to create a house and training area in this dimension, establishing it as their hideout and headquarters for their faction. The two dragon gods nodded and began preparations with his peerage. Meanwhile, in the Lucifer household, Rizavim expressed concern over Issei's whereabouts, suspecting he was hiding something. Euclid reported that Issei was training hard in the dimensional gap, pushing his limits. Vala suggested they simply ask Issei to share what he knew, a thought that had not occurred to the others. Rizavim concluded that they would have to wait for Issei's return. Their conversation was interrupted by the sudden appearance of Chow Chow, Testarossa, and Carrera, who were covered in blood. Kuroka questioned what had happened, but they shrugged off her inquiry, which only annoyed her. After cleaning themselves, they waited for Issei to arrive. Chow Chow wondered when Issei would return, prompting Vala to assert that Issei was his brother, not Chow Chow's. They decided to settle the matter through a friendly competition, but their mothers intervened, halting the boys with a smile and suggesting they eat first. Back with Issei, he gently patted Sora's head as he awaited the return of his companions. Great Red asked about Sora's condition, and Issei replied that she was still asleep, marveling at her past efforts to protect them. The dragon gods shared determined glances, vowing to confront the gods who had harmed her. Velzard, feeling a twinge of jealousy, suggested that Issei teleport Sora to one of the rooms in their new home. The others smirked at her reaction. Great Red telepathically mentioned to Ophis that they might have found another sister for Issei, to which Ophis nodded in agreement. Issei then teleported himself and Sora in front of a mansion, carrying her like a princess as they entered together. He quickly entered one of the rooms on the first floor and placed her on the bed before teleporting away. Red turned to Seal and Drake, asking why they hadn't said anything during the events that had unfolded. Seal, with a mischievous grin, suggested that they should punish him. Feeling a bit anxious, he replied that he should be going since the others were waiting, and he sprinted to join them. As he left, Red called out to him, asking if he was really leaving. He nodded, and the others followed him as he created a large teleportation circle. Before departing, he shared a brief kiss with both of his wives, promising to return in a few days to discuss the type of faction they would create and their future plans. Ophis looked at Red, questioning his thoughts. He expressed his suspicion about the situation, noting how strange it was that she had passed out unexpectedly. Ophis, trembling slightly, revealed that she had tried to look into his origin and believed he had encountered his father. Red was taken aback, having never seen her show fear in their long existence together. He asked if she knew him, and she nodded. When he pressed for the name, she hesitated, expressing her fear of the consequences. She warned that when Red discovered who Issei's father was, he would react similarly to her. Red gulped at the thought. Ophis then suggested that they help Issei build a faction, and Red agreed, stating he would head to the familiar forest while she teleported the others from around the world. Back with Issei, he and the rest arrived in front of the Lucifer mansion. With a serious expression, he instructed his family not to reveal what had happened, telling them to say they were protecting him from the shadows. They nodded in understanding, and he headed straight to his room for a shower. Afterward, he joined the others at the dining table, where Chow Chow, Testarossa, and Carrera were seated. They reported that they had completed their task, mentioning a maid with a red-haired girl who seemed to be involved. They had decided to let them be and destroyed the facilities instead. Issei inquired about the children, and Rezavan assured him they were all safe, surprising everyone with his concern for humans. Rizavim questioned why Issei had saved them, to which Issei simply shrugged. He explained that he wanted to help them grow stronger, citing Chow Chow as an example of someone who had risen from human to ultimate class devil. He expressed his desire for innocent children to have the right to live. The others smiled at his words. His mother asked about his dreams, sensing he was hiding something. Issei looked at her and shared his vision of a world where everyone could live in peace, free from prejudice against different races. His father questioned whether he believed he could achieve this dream, and Issei confidently affirmed that he would. His mother, still curious, awaited an answer to her second question. Issei reassured them that he wasn't hiding anything, explaining that his dream motivated his hard work. After dinner, he settled on the couch in the living room to rest. Valley and Chow Chow were also there, while Testarossa and Carrera trained outside. Chow Chow asked why Issei didn't hate humans, noting that many supernatural beings viewed them as weak and exploited them. Issei explained that humans had immense potential, using Chow Chow as an example of someone who had transformed from a mere human to an ultimate-class devil in just 2 years. He believed Chow Chow could surpass many gods in his prime. Issei then asked Chow Chow to go to England to rescue 2 children. He instructed Valle to leave the mansion and search for potential members for their team. Valle nodded and teleported away with Euclid as his protector. Before Chow Chow could teleport, Issei stopped him, wanting to clarify how he would identify the children he needed to save. He showed him pictures of 2 individuals, a boy with white hair and red eyes, and a girl with blonde hair and sky-blue eyes. He also asked Mizari to accompany Chow Chow, explaining that England was angel territory, and they teleported after bowing. Issei reflected on his plan to gather all the members of the hero faction, noting that it had been created by someone who fully trusted him, and he felt the children deserved better than the childhood they had experienced. He asked the dragon if it was possible for them to create life on Earth 2.0, to which the system replied affirmatively. It informed him that it was possible through the dimensional farm. He then requested to see his status. His status revealed his name as Issei Lucifer, a dragon devil slime with the power of a true dragon class. His sacred gear was the boosted gear, and he held the title of Red Dragon Emperor. His demonic power was noted as 15 million out of 20 million, and he was equipped with the armor of Fenrir and weapons including Gibalg, Excalibur, and Bamung. His skills ranged from ultimate skills like Prideful King Lucifer and Gluttonous King Beelzebub to unique skills such as high-speed regeneration and Hell Flame. He decided to purchase the Dimension Farm and Avalon, which the system confirmed had been acquired. After merging Dimension Number 3 with the Dimension Farm, he closed his status and stepped outside for some fresh air. Upon returning, he noticed Diablo and Guy engaged in conversation. They both looked at him and bowed respectfully. He inquired if they had accomplished their missions, and they nodded in response. Diablo informed him that Ingvild Leviathan was currently in a coma and mentioned hearing devils discussing selling her to the old Satan faction the following day. Issei felt a surge of anger at this news. He instructed them to eliminate the devils involved in the deal and to protect the girl from the shadows. This display of anger shocked them, as it was the first time they had seen him like this. Diablo nodded and teleported to the hospital. She reported that she had been watching over Ingvild, but her family was treating her and her brother poorly out of fear of their powers. Issei acknowledged the situation and ordered her to bring the siblings to him as soon as possible, ensuring that Rias and Grafia would not interfere. Diablo obeyed and teleported back. Issei then went upstairs to get some rest. Irene, the dragon, questioned his decision, to which he sighed and explained that he still loved Rias, as she had not betrayed him like others. He expressed his frustration over the situation. The next day, Issei woke up, showered, and headed downstairs. He spotted Euclid and had an idea. He brought him aside and asked him to bring Kateria Leviathan to him later at dinner. Euclid was puzzled but agreed to inform him later. After breakfast, Issei entered his time dimension to train. Emerging from his training, he noticed it was evening on Earth. He went to his room, took a shower, and headed downstairs, where he found Chow Chow with 2 children. Chow Chow informed him that they had been exiled from the church. Issei smiled at the sight and instructed Chow Chow to show them to their resting area, suggesting they would talk at dinner. Chow Chow nodded and led the children away. Irene remarked on the beauty of the moment, noting that the children had strayed down the wrong path due to their exile. Issei agreed, acknowledging that their former guardians had only cared for their own gains. Suddenly, Rizavim appeared, commenting on the situation. Issei assured him that he would save as many children as he could from a similar fate. He requested Rizavim to buy him a house in Kuo, believing it would be the best place for him to live, given its status as a devil territory and the availability of schools. Just then, another magic circle appeared, revealing Guy carrying two unconscious children, one boy and one girl. Issei instructed him to take them to their rooms. Another magic circle materialized, and Diablo appeared, holding an unconscious 17-year-old girl, her clothes stained. When Issei asked if she had killed everyone, she shook her head, clarifying that only 2 devils had survived while the rest were eliminated. Issei summoned 2 pictures and showed them to Diablo, who nodded in understanding. Rizavim then pointed out the girl, prompting Issei to explain that she was Inviled Leviathan, a half-human, half-devil and the heir of the Leviathan clan, suffering from a disease similar to Miss LaBale's. He instructed Diablo to take her to a resting area and decided he would ask her himself later. Rizavim inquired about the sacred gear the children possessed, which made Issei grin. He suggested creating an anti-teleportation barrier and requested Vala to be brought to him, noting that he hadn't seen him in a while. He instructed that they should be informed if the children woke up. As he left, Rizavim shook his head, unable to comprehend Issei's determination. Issei then asked Irene if she could sense Albion, to which she responded with annoyance, affirming that she could, as Albion was her rival. He asked for the location of a certain individual, and the dragon informed him that he was in Japan. Nodding in response, he contemplated the situation, wishing for Leifri or Arthur instead of Biko. Mizari then mentioned that the children were awake, prompting him to get up and head to their room. Before going to sleep, he had instructed his peer members to leave, ensuring they were not in his shadow. Entering the room, he found Valerie and Gatsby looking at him nervously. He reassured them with a smile, telling them they were safe. Valerie asked who he was and where they were. He introduced himself as Issei Lucifer, a descendant of the original Devil King, and inquired about their identities. Valerie introduced herself as a half-human, half-damper from the Teeps faction. He turned to Gatsby, who was still cross-dressing, and received a stammered introduction. Issei smiled and patted Gatsby's head, assuring him that they would not be harmed anymore. The child began to cry, but after calming down, Issei looked at them seriously. He offered to protect them, explaining that they would need to join his and his brother's peerage to escape the vampire faction's pursuit. Valerie requested some space to discuss this with Gatsby, and he stepped back, summoning Ifrit to bring his brother back. After about 30 minutes, Ifrit returned with Vale, Kuroka, and 3 others he recognized as Arthur, Leifri, and Biko. They introduced themselves, and Mizari showed them to their rooms. Issei thought to himself about how fast Vale was, and the dragon agreed. Vale, looking annoyed, asked why he had called him back. Issei casually mentioned he had a new peerage member, which piqued Vale's interest. He began to ask questions about the new member, which annoyed Issei. He told Vale to be quiet, and Vale complied. Issei explained that the new member was a half-vampire with a sacred gear called Forbidden Baylor View, which had the potential to evolve into Longinus and could stop time, though it wouldn't work on beings stronger than him. He mentioned that Albion could provide more history about the evil god Baylor. Vale nodded, understanding the significance. After waiting a few more minutes, Valerie and Gatsby emerged. Issei asked if they had made a decision, and they both bowed, accepting his offer for protection. Issei and Vale reincarnated them as their bishops and proceeded to the dining room for a meal. Issei then removed the barrier around the house, and 2 redheads teleported inside. Rizavim greeted Issei with a smile, while Surzex nodded in acknowledgement. They explained their presence, stating that one of Rizavim's grandsons possessed something that rightfully belonged to the Gremory family. Vale interjected, claiming the children were his peerage members, which caused Issei's eyebrows to twitch in irritation. He requested a trade for the children, revealing his anger. Issei firmly stated that the children were not going anywhere, accusing Surzex of wanting them to perish so his sister could reincarnate them. Surzex feigned ignorance, but Issei pressed on, revealing that he had been monitoring the children for years and had sent a member of his peerage to rescue them when he learned of their plight. Issei warned Surzex not to misuse his authority as a Devil King, stating that he was watching everyone closely. If he discovered any foul play, there would be consequences. Surzex gritted his teeth and teleported away in frustration. Turning back to the children, Issei reassured them that they were safe now. As they prepared to eat, he instructed Chow Chow to recruit someone for him after dinner. Just as they were about to begin, a Leviathan magic circle appeared, and Kateria emerged. After their meal, Issei brought Kateria to where her niece was. He asked Kateria about her relationship with the girl, and she revealed that her niece was Ingvild Leviathan, a half-human, half-devil. Confused, she questioned why Ingvild was there instead of in the hospital. Issei pressed Kateria about her involvement with an organization called Cow's Brigade, causing her eyes to widen in shock. When he raised his voice, she flinched and nodded in response. He warned her that if she did not act, her niece might be sold to the old Satan faction, reminding her that her actions had been motivated by a desire to protect Ingvild. Her eyes widened as she spoke with a dangerous tone, asking what he meant by his statement. Issei showed her a video of the battle between Diablo and the devils, explaining that Shalba Beelzebub and Cruisery Asmodeus were the only survivors. They had escaped, or they too would have perished. He held up a white-blue bishop piece, stating that he could heal her, but the only way was through reincarnation. Kateria expressed her willingness to proceed, noting that if this could heal her, she would be in the Lucifer household, and she wouldn't have to worry about anything. Issei nodded in agreement but added that he also needed her to leave the old Satan faction and join the new Satan faction to recreate the Leviathan clan. Kateria hesitated, arguing that they had taken their positions. Issei dismissed her concerns, emphasizing that he had frightened the current Lucifer just before she arrived. He urged her to ask his family if she didn't believe him, explaining that the current Devil Kings feared him. He offered to train her so she could reclaim her position from Seraphol. Kateria looked at him, incredulous as he continued to assert his strength. Rizavim appeared behind them, confirming Issei's words and stating that he was indeed the strongest devil at that moment. Issei then asked Kateria if she agreed, and she nodded. He proceeded to reincarnate Ingvild as his second bishop, and she slowly opened her eyes, confused about her surroundings and her parents. Issei introduced himself as Issei Lucifer, the descendant of the original Devil King, and welcomed Ingvild Leviathan to the Lucifer household. Kateria looked at Ingvild with tears in her eyes. Rizavim pulled Issei out of the room to give them some space, complimenting Issei on his cleverness. Issei shrugged, feigning ignorance, and Rizavim laughed as they moved to the next room, where they found Chow Chow with 2 children. Issei introduced himself again, asking for their names. One of the children, Siegfried, identified himself as the descendant of the hero Siegfried and requested Issei's guidance. Rizavim was taken aback by Siegfried's formality, while Issei smirked at him. Rizavim thought about how Issei was destined to turn the supernatural world upside down one day. The other child, Jean, introduced herself, and Issei reminded Chow Chow about training the 2 children and others in his free time. He left them with a warning about using their powers to protect others rather than becoming arrogant. Rizavim echoed his sentiment before departing. Issei woke up the next day and went downstairs for breakfast. Afterward, he entered the time dimension to train his body and magic powers. Once he completed his training, he showered and teleported to Earth 2. Upon arrival, he saw Great Red, Ophis, and Sora in their dragon forms, enjoying themselves in the sky. He sensed other magical signatures and was puzzled until he saw 3 dragon gods standing before him. Curious about the occasion, he asked them why they seemed to be having a good time. Great Red explained that it had been too long since they visited Earth. Issei then inquired about the presence of other dragons, sensing many around them. They laughed and teleported him in front of a large mountain range they had created with magic, explaining that dragons preferred to live in caves. Great Red revealed that they had teleported all the dragons, including some evil dragons, to this location, though the latter were restricted from harming others. Issei raised an eyebrow, questioning what they meant by evil dragons. Sora admitted they had revived some known dead evil dragons to aid them in case of future attacks, leaving Issei dumbfounded. He asked where all the dragons were, sensing their presence but not seeing them. They laughed again, listing the names of several dragons, including Tiamat and Grendel, and mentioned that only 2 heavenly dragons were missing along with 1 evil dragon. Issei remained calm, confident that his brother Albion would soon manifest, but it would require some of Ophus's power. When he asked how they managed to recruit the dragons, Sora explained that she had recruited Tiamat while Ophus had handled the others, even going to Hades' domain to retrieve the souls of dead dragons. Had plans for Samuel, knowing he possessed the most dangerous poison in existence, which would be helpful in battle. The others looked at him in horror, questioning whether he truly intended to recruit him. Sora nodded in response. He mentioned to Seal that he wanted to visit Hades' domain after everything was settled, and the system acknowledged his request. He then turned to his wife and asked if Draig wanted to come out. She nodded, and he extended his arms, activating the ability he had developed by merging Scarlet's scales with his gear. With the command to release, Draig manifested without any issues. She had already been given her body, allowing her to appear whenever she wished, though she preferred to stay with him. Draig expressed her excitement about being able to roam freely again, transforming into her dragon form and releasing her aura, announcing her presence to all the dragons around. She took to the skies after centuries of being sealed away. Meanwhile, at another location, 6 evil dragons were engaged in sparring when they sensed Draig's powerful aura. They grinned with anticipation and took flight toward her, joined by the other dragons present. Back with Issei and the others, he looked up to see a multitude of dragons descending before them. Draig landed gracefully behind Issei, observing everyone around her. Grendel remarked on Draig's revival and questioned Issei's identity, eyeing him curiously. Red narrowed her eyes, but Issei intervened, introducing himself as Issei Lucifer, the great-grandson of the original Devil King Lucifer, the founder of their faction, and the current Red Dragon Emperor. He raised his power to its maximum, asserting his dominance and bringing the evil dragons to their knees. Apophis expressed skepticism, stating that while Issei resembled a dragon, he could not possess Draig's title. Issei sighed and looked at Draig, who vanished as if she had never been there. He then displayed the boosted gear, confirming his truthfulness. Draig's voice echoed, explaining that Issei had created this dimension and her body, cautioning him not to mention her existence to Albion, who was with Issei's twin brother, Ophus, and would be teleported there shortly. Suddenly, the area darkened, and Ophus appeared, carrying a knocked-out Valet. Issei narrowed his eyes at her and inquired about what had happened. Ophus explained that she had given him too much power. Albion's voice questioned Issei about their location, prompting Issei to ask him to be quiet for a moment. He warned Albion not to disclose anything about this situation, threatening to confront him directly if he did. After explaining everything to Albion, who nodded in understanding, Issei instructed Seal to prepare a body for Albion. He touched the divine dividing, and Seal began examining the soul of the heavenly dragon. After an hour, all the dragons watched him with curiosity. The examination concluded, and he was informed that the skills of greedy King Mammon and gluttonous King Beelzebub were required. He instructed the dragons to step back before invoking the skills and touching the wings of divine dividing, which shattered. The soul of Albion, the dragon of supremacy, was acquired, and a body was created for her. The ultimate skill, Albion, was obtained, along with various affinities and abilities. Issei then summoned Albion, and a girl appeared before everyone. She resembled Draig but had long white hair and sapphire eyes. She transformed into her dragon form and took flight, sharing the same tendencies as Draig. With joy, she exclaimed her newfound freedom and expressed a desire to confront a certain red-haired rival. Landing before Issei, Albion asked how he had freed her. He explained that he could control the souls of people, shocking everyone around. Albion suggested summoning his peerage, and Issei agreed, calling forth his demon members and Ifrit. They responded in unison, and Issei instructed them to summon their commanders and begin assembling their army. He mentioned that he would leave the dragon's organization to Tannin after purging his pieces. Ifrit was tasked with summoning the Fairy Queen to create a labyrinth for training, ensuring safety even in the event of death. The group discussed the need for bodies, and Issei inquired how many were required. They requested 2,500 bodies. Seal calculated that it would take only 2 days to prepare them, and Issei confirmed that it would be done. With that settled, he prepared to initiate the summoning magic, instructing everyone to step back as he began the incantation. He created a magic circle and dropped a bit of his blood, calling upon the Queen of Spirits in the name of the original Lucifer. Suddenly, the area shook violently as it was enveloped in a brilliant white light. When the light faded, they saw a tiny spirit in front of them. Issei looked at her in awe, wondering if she was truly the Queen of Spirits. In his mind, he thought about how everything had gone according to plan. The little fairy in front of them was indeed the Fairy Queen, and they needed to name her before she disappeared. Issei declared that her name would be Rebirth, and she nodded in agreement. She then glanced at Ifrit, who was snuggled behind Issei. Albion asked Issei if this girl was really a spirit queen, and he confirmed with a nod. Issei then requested Rebirth to create a labyrinth so that his race could train without harming each other. She nodded and flew off into the distance. With the queen gone, Issei turned his attention to the unconscious Valet and then to Albion. He instructed Albion to stay with Valet for the time being, planning to tell him about the events once he turned 18. Albion sighed before disappearing, and Ophis teleported Issei to the Lucifer household, specifically to his room. Issei felt accomplished but was soon interrupted by Crumcrutch, who demanded a fight. Issei sighed before disappearing and reappearing in front of Crom, delivering a powerful punch that sent him flying across the mountains, knocking him out. Tannen then asked Issei about the orange-haired dragon, curious about her identity. Issei noted that she had not introduced herself yet. The dragon revealed herself as the Calamity Dragon, the true dragon god of destruction, known as Trihexa or the Beast of Apocalypse. She spoke with pride, and the dragons who recognized her existence looked at Issei, Great Red, and Ophis. Issei explained that Trihexa was indeed a dragon god whose soul had been corrupted by gods from another world. These gods had attempted to corrupt Ophis and Great Red when they were born, and Trihexa had protected them during their vulnerable stages. Her role was to destroy any universe that posed a threat to others or discovered their existence. Apophis remarked on her status as a prehistoric dragon god, and Azidaka inquired about the strength of these otherworldly gods. Issei revealed that they had killed Great Red 12 years ago, treating her like a mere insect. He warned that a low-class outer god was more powerful than a dragon god, and he was determined to eliminate every single outer god responsible for that tragedy. He explained that Sora, the dragon, was at the level of a dragon god because she had fought them billions of years ago when the multiverse was created. Nihagr asked how Issei planned to defeat every outer god, and Issei explained his strength without his boosted gear, mentioning his Beelzebub ability, which allowed him to devour enemies and gain their powers. He had already absorbed Trihexa, Draig, and Albion, enhancing his abilities. He expressed his confidence in being stronger than Red, Ophis, and Trihexa in his Juggernaut drive and shared his plans to create an overdrive, infusing Ophis and Red's powers to defeat the remaining outer gods. He took off to retrieve Crom's near-dead body and healed him. Issei clarified that he would not force anyone to join him in the war, but if they chose to participate, they should be prepared for the consequences. He instructed Crom to inform Tannen about everything once he woke up and announced his intention to head east for some business, advising them not to follow him. He mentioned bringing some orphaned humans back with him, which prompted Grendel to question why he would want humans, deeming them weak. Issei countered that he had a human Longinus user in his peerage who had become strong enough to defeat powerful foes, emphasizing that arrogance was a flaw that had led many dragons to their downfall. After teleporting away, the remaining dragons were left in shock. Tiamat, who had been silent, remarked on Issei's difference from other dragons. She explained that while many dragons sought strength to dominate others, Issei sought strength to protect everyone. The three dragon gods acknowledged him as their mate, shocking everyone further. Red, surprised, questioned how Issei could be their mate. Tiamat expressed her desire to join his harem, citing his caring nature, strength, and good looks. Red agreed, but warned Tiamat that betrayal would not be tolerated. Tannen was instructed to start organizing an army and to send messages to the factions about the formation of a new dragon faction, without revealing the leader's identity until Issei chose to do so. He nodded and teleported all the hatchlings back to the mountains. Meanwhile, Issei landed in front of a cave, creating a barrier around it before entering. After 5 minutes, he reached the end and began to meditate. He continued his journey, and after 30 minutes, he found himself pulled into his mindscape. Confused, he looked around and noticed his surroundings shifting. He was floating in an endless void when suddenly he was transported to a dreamlike state, standing in front of a large temple adorned with black and red designs. Curiosity drew him inside, where he discovered gems and a sword before him. As he approached, the temple began to crumble, prompting him to escape just in time to see it vanish completely, leaving no trace behind. Back in reality, he found the gems in his hands and absorbed their power. The moment he did, the entire planet trembled as his aura surged dramatically. Those who sensed it responded with roars, while Ophis, Sora, and Great Red teleported to his location, immediately brought to their knees by the overwhelming energy. Issei rose, ceasing the release of his aura, and stepped outside to find Great Red, Sora, and Ophis kneeling before him. Concerned, he rushed to them and checked if they were okay. They nodded and stood up. Red remarked on Issei's newfound powers, noting that he now held the concepts of dreams and infinity, which surprised him. He glanced at Ophis, who turned her head away. He instructed Drake to initiate Apocalypse Overdrive and True Dragon God Full Drive, determined to confront the challenges ahead. As he prepared to leave, Great Red playfully grabbed him, prompting a sigh from Issei as he entered the cave with the 2 dragon gods. Sora, Seal, and Irene joined them, creating a soundproof and time barrier. After 5 hours of intense activity, he teleported to his room and fell asleep. The next day, Issei went about his usual routine but intended to visit Hades. However, he was stopped by Kateria and Ingvild, who awaited him in the living room. Kateria bowed respectfully, thanking him once more, but he dismissed it as no big deal. She informed him about joining the new Satan faction and leaving the old one, expressing concern for her safety. Issei reassured her that nothing would happen to her and instructed Ifrit to follow her from the shadows to ensure her protection. As he prepared to leave, he noticed a certain boy watching him. He turned to Valle, who expressed determination to defeat him in their next encounter. Issei chuckled at his brother's spirit and patted his head before teleporting to Hades' domain. Upon entering the land of the dead, Issei observed the destruction around him. Numerous reapers were present, and he spotted a certain god lying nearly lifeless on the ground. He remarked on Ophis's destructive power before teleporting to Cocytus, where he sought the energy of Samel. Locating him sealed in thin ice, he spat in his direction and requested Seal to connect him with Samel through telepathy. Samel's voice echoed in his mind, pleading for help to lift the seals placed on him by his father. Issei was taken aback but agreed to assist. He purchased the necessary resistance against Samel's poison and melted the ice with his flames. As Samel attempted to attack, Issei bound him with chains of shadows, a skill of Ophis. After removing the seals, Samel expressed gratitude for his freedom. Issei then proposed that Samel join his newly formed dragon faction, but the Dragon Eater declined, fearing chaos if he were to roam free. Instead, he requested to be sealed in an artifact like his father had done. Issei considered this and decided to seal him in Gibalg, allowing him to emerge whenever he wished or when introduced to the faction. He devoured Samel's body with Beelzebub, gaining new skills and completing the evolution of Gibalg into Cursed Gibalg. Seal warned him that someone was approaching, prompting Issei to teleport away. He reappeared in his dimension, where dragons roamed freely. He flew towards Tanin and the others, who were training the dragons, including the evil ones. Noticing the absence of the dragon gods, he realized the reason they had been occupied. As the others sensed his presence, they looked up to see him smiling down at them. He asked Seal to send the coordinates of this dimension to Albion, allowing her to trespass, feeling a twinge of sympathy for her. Moments later, he spotted Albion flying toward him. When she landed, he inquired how she had managed to trick Valle. She casually explained that she had told him she was resting and encouraged him to train his body. She went to train them as Issei created a sphere-type barrier around himself and began meditating midair. After 7 hours of meditation, he opened his eyes and saw Ophis and the others flying around. Scarlet asked if he had completed his task, and he nodded in response. He had successfully recruited Samuel, which shocked the dragons. Ophis inquired about Samuel's whereabouts, and Issei summoned his noble phantasm. He called out for Samuel, and a young man with green and blonde hair and red eyes appeared. His muscular presence made the others sweat. Samuel reassured them that he meant no harm and introduced himself as the angel cursed by Big G, known as the Dragon Eater. Issei then requested some of Samuel's blood for an experiment, causing horror among the others. Samuel agreed, cutting his finger to let the blood flow, which Issei collected in a bottle before healing the wound. A few drops fell to the ground and onto Issei's hands, but they noticed it did not affect him. Tannen expressed disbelief at how Samuel's poison had no effect on Issei, to which he shrugged, admitting he didn't know why. Samuel asked what Issei planned to do with the blood, and Issei explained that he intended to create an antidote. He complimented Ophis for making his task easier by destroying Hades' domain, and she nodded in acknowledgement. After speaking with Tannen and purging his pieces, Issei flew away, leaving Samuel with the others. Samuel began chatting with Tannen and the others, though the hatchlings remained wary of him. An hour later, Issei returned and observed Samuel conversing with the other dragons. He looked at him and then vanished from their sight, re-entering the sphere. He asked the elders about their experience with Samuel, and Tannen remarked that he seemed lonely. Issei nodded and opened the gate of Babylon to store his spear. He informed them he would return in an hour and teleported to the Lucifer household. He searched for Ingvild and found her in the garden, watching Valet train alongside Chow Chow and Sieg. Jean was panting heavily from exertion. Issei commented on their training, appearing behind Ingvild and startling her. She expressed her surprise, and he smiled mischievously at her before recalling something important. He suddenly remembered Lilith, the mother of devils, and telepathically instructed Ophis to destroy Hades' domain again and try to lure Hades out. After an hour, he observed the trio finishing their training and addressed them, saying they would be going somewhere soon, including Ingvild. Just then, Rizavim entered the garden and inquired about Issei's destination. Issei explained that he was heading to Hades' domain to rescue his great-grandmother, shocking Rizavim. Rizavim questioned how this was possible since he believed she had died in the Great War. Issei clarified that she was alive. He had sensed her magic signature the previous night, and his great-grandfather had instructed him to rescue her. Rizavim asked what she was doing in Hades' domain, and Issei revealed that Hades intended to create artificial devils by using her. Rizavim's anger boiled over, and he teleported them both to Hades' domain. Upon arrival in the realm of the dead, they were met with destruction everywhere, including a gruesome sight of a bag of skeletons on the ground. Rizavim questioned what had happened, but Issei had no answers. He sensed his mother's signature coming from a specific direction and led Rizavim toward it. They entered a ruined building with a secret entrance, descending to find Grim Reapers experimenting on a naked devil in a tube, which they recognized as Lilith. Rizavim swiftly dealt with the Grim Reapers, and Issei freed Lilith, emerging from the lab with her. Rizavim, still furious, decided to destroy the lab. Just then, they spotted Hades attempting to rise. Rizavim teleported in front of him, demanding to know what he was doing and where Lilith was. Hades, taken aback, questioned their presence, but Rizavim had reached his limit. His aura exploded as he stood before the god of the dead in his super devil form. He grabbed Hades by the head and slammed him into the ground before delivering a powerful punch to his face. Rizavim then lifted Hades by his legs and threw him into the air, summoning a massive ball of demonic energy and hurling it at Hades, who screamed in pain. Issei, eager to finish the fight, summoned a large spear filled with condensed power. He looked at Rizavim, who took Lilith from him and created the strongest barrier he could muster. Rizavim teleported himself and Lilith out of harm's way as Issei ascended into the air. He declared that for attempting to lay his filthy hands on the mother of all devils, Hades, the god of death, would be punished with death. The spear grew to an enormous size, radiating immense power. Rizavim watched in awe as Issei threw the spear at Hades. Upon impact, there was no trace left of Hades or his domain, but the resulting earthquake echoed throughout the underworld. Issei then teleported back to the Lucifer household with Rizavim, where all the family members, along with the 4 devil kings, had gathered. Rizavim took Lilith to her room, using magic to cover her with clothes before returning to find everyone staring at him and Issei with expressions of concern. Although he was still angry, he decided to calm himself. Surzex expressed his concern about the recent earthquake, explaining that Issei had destroyed the territory of Nibirius, which had generated a quake of equal power. He wanted to understand the extent of Issei's actions. Issei admitted that he had only destroyed Hades within his domain, prompting a collective gasp from those present, wondering what else he might have planned. Ajuka inquired about Issei's motivations, to which Rizavim responded with barely contained anger. He revealed that Hades had attempted to create artificial devils by using his mother, and Issei had detected her magic signature the previous night. Surzex sighed, acknowledging the potential chaos this would cause during the Olympics. Issei, undeterred, challenged Surzex, questioning what he would do if it were his mother in danger. His piercing gaze made Surzex flinch. Seraphal, taken aback, expressed disbelief at Issei's seriousness. Rizavim confirmed that Issei was indeed serious, having witnessed him destroy Nibirius territory without fear. He noted Issei's immense power, suggesting that he could eliminate all the current devil kings in an instant. Issei reassured Seraphal that if they were attacked, she should contact him, believing that Hades was primarily to blame. Ajuka asked how Issei had detected her signature, prompting a smile from Issei as he unfolded his wings, revealing 12 pairs, 4 angelic, 4 fallen and 4 devil wings. He introduced himself as Issei Lucifer, the second progenitor. Ajuka was curious about the meaning of second progenitor and how Issei possessed both fallen and angel wings, especially in such numbers. Issei challenged Ajuka to attack him with his Kankara formula. As Ajuka complied, Issei effortlessly negated the attack with a simple gesture, smirking at him. He explained that he could access all the abilities of the 72 pillars and that every Lucifer had the potential to unlock their angelic side, though it was a difficult process. Summoning a pod in one hand and holy magic in the other, he noticed the astonished expressions of those around him. Surzex asked if Issei could resurrect the dead pillars of the devil race, to which Issei nodded. However, he stated that he would not do so immediately due to the presence of traitors within the council, which he was monitoring. He warned them not to come to him if they sensed another earthquake, as he could control souls and would not hesitate to eliminate a few more pillars if necessary. The others exchanged nervous glances. Issei instructed Surzex, Seraphal, and Falbium to take their duties seriously, hinting that he might need to create new devil kings if they failed. He cautioned them to keep his plans confidential, as he intended to remain low-key for a while. He then ordered Chow Chow to bring him 3 individuals, handing over their pictures. Valley accompanied Chow Chow, as they had made a bet on who would win and call Issei brother. Rizavim asked Issei where he had sent Valley and Chow Chow. Issei explained that he had dispatched them to retrieve the 3rd son of the Phoenix and the exiled child of the Baal clan along with her mother, indicating he had business with the Phoenix. He cracked his knuckles, and the others silently hoped for their survival. His mother inquired about the other 2 individuals. Issei replied that he intended to grant the Phoenix's son the ability to use his lineage power and heal his mother. After a brief wait, 2 magic circles appeared. One circle revealed Chow Chow, carrying an unconscious riser, while the other showed Serorg Baal with his mother in his arms. Rizavim instructed Graphia to take her to one of the unoccupied rooms. Chow Chow was instructed to teleport Serorg to his room, ensuring the boy wouldn't leave. He planned to have an important conversation with him later. Turning his attention to Serorg, he acknowledged the boy's presence. Serorg introduced himself, explaining that he and his mother had been summoned by the future Devil King, although his mother was unable to speak. Tears welled in his eyes as he spoke. Issei reassured him, promising to help his mother if Serorg shared his aspirations for the future. Serorg expressed his gratitude, revealing that he had been born without the power of destruction, which led to both him and his mother being exiled from their clan. As he recounted his story, Issei noticed the shame on the faces of the Devil Kings present. He addressed Surzex Gremory, Seraphal Citri, and the others, warning them that if they encountered a similar situation in the future, they should inform him first. He also cautioned them to prevent the exile of children, or there would be serious consequences. Serorg was taken aback by Issei's boldness. Issei then asked Serorg what he would do if he were granted the power he desired. The boy replied that he would help others like him. Nodding in approval, Issei placed his hand on Serorg's head and declared that he, Issei Lucifer, descendant of the original Devil King, granted Serorg full access to the power of destruction. The boy's body glowed red for a moment, and he felt a surge of energy coursing through him. Excited, Serorg attempted to summon the power, creating a small ball of destruction in his palm. Overwhelmed with emotion, he hugged Issei, who smiled at the boy's joy. When Serorg looked at the others, they were stunned into silence. Curious about the earlier mention of the Devil King, Issei turned to Valley, who appeared nervous. Valley apologized profusely, bowing in contrition. Issei, amused by his antics, instructed him to keep his promise while he healed Serorg's mother. Entering the guest room where she lay, Issei asked Seal if she could cure her. She nodded and instructed Serorg to place his hand on her forehead. After the healing, Issei informed Serorg that his mother would awaken soon. The others stepped outside to give them privacy for their reunion. Outside, they encountered Ifrit, who was carrying a knocked-out Kateria, visibly injured. Issei inquired about what had happened. Ifrit explained that they had attacked the young Leviathan, and he had dealt with them as expected. Issei chuckled, realizing that Shalba was on the move. He reassured Ifrit that he could rest, as he would send someone else to hunt down Shalba Beelzebub. Ifrit nodded and retreated into the dimension. Surzex sought clarification on the situation, prompting Issei to respond that they needed to mature before he would explain. Ajuka expressed frustration at Issei's lack of assistance, to which Issei sighed. He elaborated that Kateria Leviathan was part of a newly formed group called the Cows Brigade, created by a former member of Grigori named Satinal. This group sought to forcibly create Longinus users, leading to Satinal's expulsion from Grigori. Along with Kokabil and other former Satan faction members, they formed the Cows Brigade, which consisted of various factions, including one led by a Hindu god aiming for world domination. The revelation left everyone in shock, while Rizavim chuckled, praising Issei's cleverness and suggesting Vala learn from him. Surzex asked how long Issei had known about the Cows Brigade, to which Issei replied that he had been aware for 3 years and had destroyed Nibirius territory due to its involvement with the group. Seraphal questioned why he hadn't informed them sooner, and Issei, with an incredulous expression, explained that he doubted they would take action. He noted that they often seemed preoccupied with trivial matters. Velzard inquired about their plans for the Cows Brigade. Issei suggested allowing them to plot while keeping an eye on their activities. He warned them not to trust anyone in the council, as there were traitors among them. The Devil Kings nodded in agreement as Issei departed in a magic circle, taking his peerage members with him to his dimension. Upon arriving in his dimension, Issei and his peers were met with the sight of dragons soaring freely in the sky. The newcomers trembled in fear, except for those who had encountered the dragons before. Issei reassured them that they were safe and encouraged them to follow him. When the dragons sensed him, they immediately approached. Tannen inquired about the newcomers, and Issei introduced them as his peerage members. Chow Chow, a descendant of the original hero and ruler of the 3 kingdoms, proudly stated his lineage and revealed himself as the user of true Longinus, which astonished everyone present. Valerie Teeps, a half-human, half-damper, mentioned her recent joining and her uncertainty about her sacred gear. Issei explained that she was the user of the holy relic known as the Holy Grail or Sephiroth Graal, which left the others wide-eyed. Velzard, an ice dragon and one of the 5 true dragons, introduced herself next. Issei elaborated that she was from a different reality, emphasizing the rarity of true dragons. Velgrind, Velzard's younger sister and the Scorched Dragon, followed suit with her introduction. Ingvild Leviathan, a descendant of the original Devil King and a half-breed, nervously stated her name and lineage. Issei then revealed that she held a Longinus named Nereid Kyrie, capable of controlling seas and dragons, which caused everyone to step back in surprise. With introductions complete, Issei expressed his desire for them to train the newcomers and to create facilities for humans, noting that this dimension was endless. He planned to introduce other mythical creatures, like wyverns, into the dimension. He appointed Cao Cao as the leader of the humans, responsible for training both humans and half-devils who had been exiled from their clans, instructing him to keep this information confidential, even from Issei's family. Cao Cao nodded in agreement. Issei then instructed him to return and bring Sieg and Jean, who would work directly under him, along with the children from the church that Cao Cao had saved. After Cao Cao left, Red asked Issei what he would be doing. Issei replied that he would explain later but emphasized the importance of not disturbing him, as it would benefit them in the future. He mentioned that Valerie's sacred gear could grant Red Samuel's poison resistance but cautioned against overdoing it. With that, Issei took to the skies. Red turned to the others and shared her thoughts on Issei. You long described him as serious, strict, and cold, but the dragon gods shook their heads in disagreement. They believed he had a pure heart, but Red was interrupted when Ophis, in a sudden burst of power, sent her flying into the mountains. Ophis insisted that Red did not understand Issei at all. Sora intervened, urging them to stop, and Red sighed, lowering her power as the dragons pondered what had happened to Issei in the past. Cao Cao arrived with the humans, and Sieg and Red emerged from the rubble. Red glared at Ophis but softened when she saw the humans, instructing Cao Cao to wait while she created a proper city for them, then flew away. Cao Cao turned to the elders, asking about their army. They explained that Issei would return soon, and they would make decisions then. For now, all dragons would follow Tannen's orders, including the evil dragons. Red returned and teleported them in front of a large city, creating a powerful barrier to protect it. Meanwhile, Issei asked Seal how to create other mythical creatures in this dimension. Seal informed him that he could use creation magic but suggested purchasing a divine seed instead. Issei decided to buy it. Curious about the divine seed, Issei learned that it was said to grow into a world tree, offering immense benefits. The leaves could be used for alchemy to create various tonics, the branches could forge powerful tools and weapons, and the fruit could extend a person's lifespan significantly. Once planted, nature spirits would be born, loyal to the planter, and assist with harvesting. Excited about the surprise promised by the divine seed, Issei planted it in the ground. He eagerly awaited the outcome. The dimensional farm began upgrading, and Issei was astonished by the possibilities. The growth speed was enhanced, and the size of the farm expanded to accommodate new mythical creatures, hinting at incredible transformations for various species. Issei's jaw dropped at the magnitude of the upgrade, realizing the potential it held for the future. That would mean that the divine seed wouldn't take long to fully grow and bear fruit. He wondered how much time it would take for the tree to reach its full potential. She informed him that it would take 100,000 years for the tree to finally grow. Irene suggested that they couldn't wait that long and urged Seal to create the most powerful time barrier around it so that it could be finished in under 10 days. Issei agreed, and they worked together to create a large magic barrier in the area. He then left to see the others, eager to share the news and witness their reactions. As he soared through the sky with his dragon wings, he spotted a city below. Upon closer inspection, he saw Cao Cao organizing the children, directing them to which houses they would visit. It seemed pointless since all the houses looked the same. He chuckled and increased his speed, heading toward his friends, excited to see their faces. Crom acknowledged his arrival, asking if he had finished his business. Issei shook his head, explaining that it would take 10 days for the tree to fully grow. He decided to wait until then to share the news. Crom telepathically summoned everyone, and when they gathered, Issei revealed what he had done, leaving them wide-eyed with astonishment. Apophis cautioned that it could be problematic if word got out, but Issei waved off the concern. He assured them that he would assign guards, including Apophis and other spirits, to protect the tree. He emphasized that anyone attempting to steal it would face severe consequences, recalling how Apophis had fallen to Siegfried. He reassured them that he would create the most powerful barrier, one that even Red and the others could not breach once the tree was finished. Transitioning to a more serious topic, He inquired about the status of their army. Tannen reported that they currently had 50,000 dragons, but he couldn't control them all, and more would come once the tree was complete. Issei proposed creating 8 generals to work under 3 majors, who would in turn oversee 3 lieutenants. He looked at Red, Ophis, and Sora as he spoke. Apophis asked who would be given the rank of major, knowing they couldn't assign lieutenants just yet. Issei thought for a moment and then grinned, suggesting a tournament among the 6 of them, along with Tiamat, Draig, and Albion. This would motivate the other dragons to grow stronger in pursuit of ranks. Tannen praised the idea, noting that it would prevent disputes among the dragons. Issei acknowledged the main challenge would be the 2 heavenly dragons. Tiamat suggested dividing the tournament into 3 parts, allowing the heavenly dragons to challenge each other for ranks later on. The others were surprised by her cleverness, chuckling at her expense, causing her to pout. Red announced her intention to create a coliseum and took off, prompting Issei to admire the peaceful sky. The other dragons turned to him, expressing their gratitude. He reassured them that while the world was at peace, other factions were not. Grendel inquired about the situation, and Issei explained that Hades had been attempting to create artificial devils through Lilith, but he had thwarted him within his domain. Hades was working with a terrorist group called Chaos Brigade. Crom revealed that he had also been invited to join that group. Issei warned him that had he joined, he would have had to eliminate him, as he planned to take down that group soon. Just then, a magic circle appeared, and Ramiris emerged, announcing that she had completed the labyrinth. The dragons grinned with excitement. Issei thanked her, and she departed. He instructed the dragons to begin their training there but reminded them not to destroy the labyrinth. They quickly vanished from sight, unaware that there were bosses on each floor, growing more powerful as they descended. Another magic circle appeared, and the 7 primordials materialized. Mizari asked if he was done with the bodies, to which Issei nodded and teleported them into the labyrinth. He summoned all the bodies, and the demons possessed them as he began naming them. Afterward, he addressed the 7 primordials, instructing them to ensure the new demons did not cause trouble or scare human children. He then contacted Red to request the creation of a city for the demons before leaving the dimension.